All right, class, this is the second round of notes. Today we are looking at regional economies and how these regional economies created differences within the United States. The focus of today's lecture will be that the North and the South developed different economic systems that led to political differences between the regions. And then why are we learning it? Well, because even today, different regions of the country continue to have different political and economic interests. I want to start off with this with the same rundown from last time. Looking at our country's motto, "E pluribus unum," which means out of many, one. And I wanted you to look on at the map on the right, and I wanted you to explain to me and write down how this motto is reflective in the map. Please use some examples here. So you really want to look at the map and imagine yourself breaking it up into to 3 to 4 different regions. You have the north, right in this area. All right, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and up. You have the South, Maryland, West Virginia, Kentucky, Tennessee, down here. And then you have the West or Midwest over here, and then you have the far West over there. And I want you to look at what is in each of the states and try to summarize how each of these regions are different and unique, but yet still can be used to support the country's motto, out of many, one. Next, I want to look at the electoral map from the 2016 election. Take a moment to look at that. Once again, you want to look at blue versus red. And then I want to go back to that quote that John C. Calhoun said. I never use the word nation in speaking of the United States. We are not a nation, but a union, a confederacy of equal and sovereign states. How would this electoral map support the sentiment or meaning behind John C. Calhoun's words? If you could, please answer both the questions about the motto and the questions about John C. Calhoun's quote in the electoral map on a separate sheet of paper. Please pause the video if you need to be able to do that. All right, so when we're looking at these notes, a key person of interest here is Eli Whitney. Eli Whitney has a quote that I want to start off with. It says, one of my primary objects is to form the tools so the tools themselves shall fashion the work and give to every part its just proportion, which once accomplished will give expedition, uniformity, and exactness of the whole. In short, the tools which I contemplate are similar to an engraving on copper plate, from which may be taken a great number of impressions exactly alike. This quote in a nutshell is important for 2 different reasons. Number one, this quote is at its core what the Industrial Revolution is intended to do. A change from the resulted from the replacement of hand tools to moving towards the production of goods by machines. And also, this factory system is going to use something called interchangeable parts. These are standardized parts that can be used in place of one another to be able to mass produce goods in large quantities. The second reason why Eli Whitney is important is because he's also contributed to the economy of the South. And we will talk about the importance of the cotton gin in a little bit. So we want to start off with another revolution is affecting America. We're in the late 17th, early 1800s, and the American Revolution, in which we gained our independence from Great Britain, has just ended a short while ago, and another revolution is going to come into the United States. However, this revolution will be the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is a massive change in social and economic organization. Resulted from a replacement of hand tools by machines and the development of large-scale industrial production. This is actually also called the factory system. So you can, for that first part of your notes of the what, you could say the Industrial Revolution, and or you could say the factory system. I would be using both. This is starting in the 18th century, and it actually starts in Great Britain. And it's the Industrial Revolution actually takes place focusing on the textile industry first. The textile industry is the process in which cotton is weaved into cloth. The Industrial Revolution actually comes to the United States shortly after, because of a couple different reasons. Number one, the turning points are of the Embargo Act of 1807 and the War of 1812. Remember, the Embargo Act of 1807 was by Jefferson. It stopped trade with the United States in all foreign countries. And the War of 1812 was a war that we fought against Great Britain. Now, what effect did these have on Americans involved in shipping and foreign trade? Well, it's going to turn our attention to domestic industries. If we're not shipping anymore because we're not trading, thanks to the Embargo Act, if we're not trading with Great Britain because we're at war, then it's going to have a profound impact on Americans involved in these areas. And so they're going to actually have to look inward, and they're going to have to focus on industries in the United States, factories in the United States. Now, luckily, manufacturing developed in New England, developed in the northern part of the United States, thanks to Samuel Slater. Samuel Slater in 1793 actually memorized the plans for the textile machines in Great Britain, and he brought the plans for the textile machines to the United States. So the factory system was actually able to be created thanks to Samuel Slater, and also thanks to a person named Francis Cabot Lowell. Lowell is actually going to bring the factory system to Massachusetts, and so he's going to help build a weaving factory. He's going to put in the machines in these factories, and he's going to be able to start mass producing textiles. The results for the textile industry, there's a change from handmade cloth to machine-made cloth. For internal migration, people, because there's jobs now available, people are going to move from the farms to the cities. In New England's going to industrialize, and because it industrializes, there's little economic motivation for slavery. So we're going to start to see slavery dying out in the North. The early workforce is going to be young, single women. And as far as immigration goes, we're going to see it increase during this time period as a result of the availability of jobs. So let's look at this change in workforce. In Lowell and other mill towns in New England, under the strict control of female supervisors, a workforce consisting almost of entirely unmarried farm girls were descended upon Lowell and other mill towns in New England. Why did people hire young single females? Because they could pay them lower wages. Mill girls often work 12-hour days, 6 days a week. For many, it was their first chance to earn money, but the conditions at Lowell were that their daily life or schedule was dictated by the mill. When they're working, they have to experience an immense amount of heat. It's dark in there because there's very little sunlight coming in. There's poor ventilation. Also, with working conditions, you see at a relentless pace to try to keep up with production expectations. So the boss is saying, we got to produce more and more and more. You got to work faster, faster, faster. So this is relentless pace here to try to keep up with these expectations. These mill girls, I said that their life is dictated by the mill. And so if they're living in these mill towns, they live in the houses provided by the mills. When they go to church, any activities, social expectations are all dictated by life in the mill towns. So how do these mill girls respond to the working conditions? How do they respond to the low pay and the increase in amount of expectations for production? Well, they strike. And a strike is when workers refuse to work. So in 1834, there was the first strike. This is in response to a 15% wage cut. However, the union lost, and most girls went back to work at a lower pay. 2 years later, there's another strike due to a 12.5% wage cut. Once again, the union or this organization of workers, they lose again, and most of them go back to work at another pay cut. So this is a 27% pay cut in 2 years. Um, the important thing here is in 1842, there's a court case called Commonwealth v. Hunt. The importance of Commonwealth v. Hunt is that it made unions or these organizations of workers that come together for common needs and grievances. It makes unions and workers having the ability to strike or refusing to work. It makes that legal. So in Commonwealth v. Hunt, the court rules that workers had a right to strike and a right to unionize. Female textile workers were not the only laborers seeking a better life. Between 1830 and 1860, immigration rose dramatically in the United States, primarily from Ireland and Germany. The cause of immigration for the Irish, there was a potato famine, and potatoes were a staple crop in Ireland. And so when they had a series of droughts and poor harvests, the Irish were starving, and they came to America. And for Germany, it was more of an economic opportunity. They saw there was an opportunity to seek a better life for them and their family, and so they moved to America because of this. Where are the Germans settling? The Germans are settling mostly in the Midwest. We're talking about Michigan, Wisconsin, Minnesota, and they're doing that because they had a little bit of money and they had some skills, so they could actually go ahead and start a new life out west. The Irish are going to settle in cities in the east. Most of the time they're going to come into their port city, which would be like a Boston and New York City, and they're going to stay there. Why are they staying in these cities? Because they're poor, so they don't have the money to move, and they're unskilled, so they're mainly seeking out jobs in the factories that don't require any skill. What's the response to this increase in immigration? Well, the response was something called nativism. Nativism is the belief in favoring native-born Americans over immigrants. Why are people, so resistant to the Irish and the Germans coming over here? It's mostly a matter of cultural differences, particularly religion. The Irish are Catholic, and the United States is predominantly a Protestant country, and so there's still some animosity or hard feelings that Protestants had towards Catholics, and so they saw the Irish or they respond to the Irish in a negative way because of those cultural differences, mainly over religion, and also economic interest. Where these immigrants are coming over here, they are willing to work for less, and the native-born Americans are seeing this as a threat to their job security or economic security. Some of the actions that we'll see taken by the nativists, they'll actually have a political party that was formed in the 1850s known as a Know Nothing Party. You will have to remember that, the Know Nothing Party. KNOW, Know Nothing Party. This is a nativist party against foreign immigration, and you see a lot of signs on the doors called NINA, or No Irish Need to Apply. So we'll see that happen at times. In the South, we see a different type of economic system being formed. We see the rise of King Cotton in the South. The rise of King Cotton is due primarily because of Eli Whitney and the invention of the cotton gin. The effect that this has is that it causes cotton productions to soar. And even more important, as cotton production soars and the southern economy is going to be more reliant on this cash crop of cotton, this is going to increase the demand for slavery. So this is one of the big differences here economically, socially, and it's going to spill over to politically between the North and the South. The North will be industrial based, little demand for slavery, and the South will be more agricultural based with an increase in demand for slavery as a result of the cotton gin. We will also, in the next video, they'll have a short look at Henry Clay's economic system.